Hello, 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 everyone. How are you doing this evening? It is March the 5th. Can you believe that March is already here? And honey, we have some things planned for you in March. Did you know that we're celebrating women this month? That it's actually National Women's Month? Did you know that? Well, guess what? We've invited some guests to come and talk and speak about very important women in their lives. And we're just going to have all kinds of discussions. I have to kick it off. So let me tell you what. We've got a really good conversation going tonight. You're going to have a heart to heart with Dr. Paula. We're going to talk about somebody that who's very special and important to me in my life. So you know what we do. Mm-hmm. You have to tag your friends and call them if you have a moment, and you can text them and tell them that the Power of Transformation broadcast is on with Dr. Paula Obie. They don't want to miss it. So go ahead and tag them and text them. And guess what? I'm going to do the same thing. And I'll see you soon. Hello, hello, hello. We don't have any snow for you this week, but we did have like a weather watch. It was like a tornado watch for a while. I'm going, whew, March is coming in like a lion, but all is well in my neck of the woods as we celebrate Women's Month this entire month of March. And I hope that you can find at least one person to celebrate. Celebrate them every day. That would be great. And don't forget to celebrate yourself, right? I'm going to celebrate me. All right, tonight we said we're going to have a heart to heart, and I'm smiling because I'm going to talk about someone. I'm going to set the stage. I haven't seen her in over, let's just say, a few decades. However, she is someone who remains in my heart, will forever remain in my heart, and she is someone that I will never forget. And she is my mom. So tonight on the Power Transformation, my mom. As we're celebrating Women's Month, the Power of Transformation, we're going to kick it off tonight, and we're just going to keep this conversation moving because we're going to talk about someone who's very special. My mom. Let me introduce you to her. She is the late Reverend Joyce L. Obie. She's born July 30th, 1937, and she left this world March 30th, 1971. Isn't she beautiful? Lovely. That's my mom. So let's get to know her a little bit more. Okay? Let's talk about why she's important to me. Was my hero. And what do heroes do? What should heroes do? They will inspire you. That's what she did. And she provided hope for me. They should offer a vision. That's what she did. Prepare you for the future, which is a tough job when you've got, more than one child. We'll talk about how many. She help you cope with difficulties. In my case, she was a grief counselor when my brother Wayne passed. She was my grief counselor. So I added that to the list. A protector. They're supposed to protect you and provide guidance and so much more. Those were the things that just popped into my head that heroes do. That just scratches the surface when it comes to a true hero, especially if that hero is your mom. We keep them pretty busy. So let's talk about her a little bit. Let's talk about the late Reverend Joyce L. Obie. Now, I love the outfit that she has on, and I wish I had that pocketbook. And you can't see her shoes. I'm a shoes person. You can't see her shoes, but she has on pumps, and I love pumps. So I figure I'm a lot like her. But look at all the roles that she played. She was a wife and a mother, a pastor's wife. She was a minister, a pianist, a music teacher, a songwriter, a cosmetologist. I'm tired just thinking about it, but that was who she was. She had a very, very involved life, and she enjoyed all of the aspects of her life. You see her parents there, Charlie Long Sr. and my grandmother, Beulah Ray Long. My grandmother passed away at the age of 97, my mom at 37. So my grandmother really stepped in after she left. She had one brother who is now in heaven with her. And I say that they're all up there rejoicing together, talking about, us. She married the love of her life, Elder Samuel B. Obie, in 1952. And for the next 19 years, she birthed 9 children. Nine children. She had 8 boys and 1 girl. That would be me. One was stillborn, and now she has there are 2 that are deceased in heaven with her. So she was pretty busy for 19 years of her life after she married the love of her life. And one of the things that's important to me as we talk about her is the fact that I want to kind of make it a little bit personal for me as to how she impacted my life. So I want to celebrate her tonight. Let me tell you what I mean. I'll tell you what I mean. She only had 11 years to groom and prepare me to survive after her death. Just 11 years. My oldest brother was 18, turned 18 in May when she passed in March. She didn't have enough time. She didn't have a lot of time. So she had to be really, really, really busy being the visionary and doing all the things that she wanted to do for us. And she was. During those 19 years and 11 years, almost 11 years in my life, she planted some serious seeds of vision and of hope and promise and all the other things that, are not even included on the slide. She wanted me to do more than she accomplished more than she did. And I knew she wanted it because of the way she said things towards the end of her life. So she taught me my very first public solo. I am a singer, and she played the piano for me. So we were involved in a church organization where there was one lady who loved children. She always made sure there was a talent hour at one of the meetings, at one of the services, and you could actually go up and put your name on the list, and then she'd call you and you'd sing or whatever the ministry you had or talent you had, you'd do that. And she always made sure that the kids were on there, not just the grown-ups. So what I would do is she put my name down when I walk in, and then when she called my name, I would pretend to be asleep. Because I just would. So my mom never called me by my first name. She always called me by my middle name. She's like, why would you put your name on the list or have her put your name on the list if you're going to pretend to be asleep when she calls your name? So I said, because I'm a little scared. Kids, I'm just a kid. And she said, I will help you. We'll find a song together. I will play for you and we'll practice. And we practiced and practiced until I had no more problems with talent hour after that. The only thing that she had to remind me to do, the first time I sung it, it must have been a little dry. And she was like, will you put something in that song? Sing it like you mean it. And there I am, okay. And so together with her guidance, playing the piano, and coaching me and counseling me, I learned how to get to that mic, and I have been and sing, and I've been doing it since then. That was my debut. So again, I just love her. So why is she my hero? Why? Well, I said before all the characteristics of a hero. Those are just a small list, in my opinion, a very short list. But my mom was very smart and talented, and I've always said that I felt that she was ahead of her time. I really did. And she was my champion. And she was my defender. I'm going to keep this personal because these stories mean a lot to me. My middle name is Yvette. And she always called me by my middle name. She never called me Paula. Well, a lot of people would say that, isn't it pronounced Yvette? She's like, no, I gave her that name. And I pronounce it Yvette. So that's what we're going to do. So my 3rd grade teacher told me something, and she says, you are mispronouncing your name. And she said something kind of ugly, and of course I went home and told my mom. The very next day, my mother drove me to school. We got out of the car and walked down the hallway, and she says, now you stay out here. I'm going in to talk to the teacher. And after her conversation with the teacher, I had no more problems about the pronunciation of my name. She was my defender. While she was on this earth, she was a defender for all of her kids. You just didn't cross her. She was quiet when she wanted to be, but you did not cross her, and she loved her kids. She will have a conversation with you about us. And she did. That was my story. And I remember that the teacher was just so nice to me after that. And I thought, I wonder what she said. Can only imagine. So she also encouraged me to study hard and to enjoy my friends because she was expecting when she younger, she had to drop out of school because at that time, if you were expecting, you could not stay in school. You had to drop out. So of course, for me, she was like, study hard, stay in school, study your multiplication tables, read, write. That was her thing. In addition to the other talents, she wanted to make sure I finish my education because she was smart and she loved to study. And she probably would have been a music teacher had she been able to continue her schooling. And she also wanted me to enjoy my friends. And you might say, well, doesn't every parent want you to enjoy your friends? Maybe not. I found out after her death, everybody doesn't care about your friends coming over and spending the night. They don't care about that. She made sure that I could talk on the phone as long as I wanted. She made sure that I could go visit my friends. I was her only girl. She wanted me to have a well-rounded life, and that's really the formula that she used. She created a home environment that was welcoming. And if you were there in the home environment, that was the time when she was mostly the cosmetologist. And a lot of her patrons were the church members and the members of the choir. So that was basically her village. They'd come in, they'd sit down and to get their hair done. And one would have the baby and they were changing diapers, and the other was actually had the bottle and they were taking care of the kids. And then of course, when it was time for them, there was a little lull, and they were practicing songs. You could hear them practicing their harmony. So you can imagine that the house was filled with wonderful supporters and wonderful music, and it was, and laughter, and the television. In the back of our house, my father placed a basketball goal on a tree in the back of our house. And that basketball goal, everybody was just there. So Saturday mornings, I would awaken to bam, 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 but they were smart because with that particular environment, with the basketball goal in the back, they knew where their kids were. And even though the other kids came to visit, it was a really welcoming time. And my brother still talk about that. So she wanted us to enjoy our friends, created the home environment that was welcoming. And the thing that's really the most impactful to me was actually the last 2 weeks of her life. Leading up to the last 2 weeks of her life, she didn't talk about leaving, and she never used those words, but she knew I would freak out. However, she demanded or was very strongly encouraged me to come to the hospital every day. And it was during this time, where she groomed me the most. She never said, I'm leaving you. She never said those words. But there were times when she would say something to me or give me a directive, and I'd look at her and we'd lock eyes. I knew exactly what she meant. It's that moment when you're like, oh my God, she's not coming home. So I listened. I'm her only girl. I'm listening. So she would spend a lot of time at UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill, and she created what I call a foundation for me with these 4 points. The foundation has 4 areas, and boy, oh boy, did she drill this into me. Study hard, finish school. Study hard, finish school. That's what I want you to do. And while she was talking, I was not talking with her. I was nodding my head. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then she'd give stories. That was one part of the foundation. The other part of the foundation, she said, don't let anyone buy you. You are not for sale. You cannot be bought. There was a young lady who had taken a particular interest in my family, and she had a way of purchasing something for you and then telling everyone else that she purchased it for you. Anybody know that kind of person? And it got back to my mom, and she's like, here, you keep that. You keep it. If you want to do it from your heart. And she said, don't let anybody buy you. You're not for sale. And I understood even more my adulthood exactly what that statement meant. So those are the 2 parts of the foundation. The third part of the foundation, she said, don't be like them. And she called names. Oh my God. And I thought these were people that she liked. And it wasn't that she did not like them. I want to make this clear. She wanted me not to mimic their behavior. She knew she was not going to be around to help navigate me through those life scenarios. And she said, don't be like them. She called these names. And in the back of my mind, months later, I also felt she was saying, don't be like me, surpass me, do more than me. That's what I felt. And each of the folks that she talked about, I'm really glad she did that because they weren't my role models and they shouldn't have been my role models. And she gave me a heads up. I mean, almost 11. I'm trying to take it all in, but her points were well taken. And then the very last part of the foundation that I've called upon, recited probably a million times a day at times, be strong. And this is how she said it. Be strong, Wybette. Be strong. And boy, did that ever etch in my brain. I've had to say that so many times. Be strong. Be strong. My mama told me to be strong. And that's the foundation that she built. Because, of course, with these types of scenarios, with her leaving, everything changed. You had the time of grief and transformation. So I had to stand on those concepts forever, and I'm still standing on them. I finally finished school. And most people who know me know that you can't buy me. I'm not even impressed. And there are people that I know aren't my good role models, and I've had to learn that the hard way sometimes. And I've depended on the mantra, be strong. Isn't that cool? Whew. So when you're talking about going back down memory lane, I threw up a couple of pictures of her. Some of the pictures are not that clear, but I really thought it was really cool. This is the 50s and there are different roles, married in the choir. And there's one picture that's not as clear, but there's a little streak for some reason. Someone tried to crease the picture. There is an organ that she's sitting, and she's sitting on the organ stool. And there's a reason for that. And I'm going to talk about it in a second. But she's sitting on the organ, she's taking her little pictures. And then there are others, and I love to look at the different stages of her life. And I have other pictures. And these are the ones that really resonate with me. The one that's in the middle, where she's standing with my father with his arms around her, I have a niece who looks just like her in that picture. And it really is amazing. So just a few pictures of her. There's a picture of her with my oldest brother, and then she's holding the second oldest brother, just her kids. And she knew how to love. Isn't it amazing how they know how to love all their kids? To me, it just amazes me. We're all special to them. Every single one of us are special to them. So that's the first part of Back Down Memory Lane. So if we look at the next part of Back Down Memory Lane, we're a little bit older. There we are. All grown up. Well, we have a little bit more gray hair now. This picture was taken a few years ago, but there's my family, there's my brothers. And of course, I didn't have one of baby boy, Obie, but those are all the brothers. And the two that are deceased in the bottom are Charles and Wayne. Wayne, the little kid in the gray with that beautiful smile, he was actually hit by a car. And he was killed before she left here. And it was during that time when I really realized the love of a mother, for the love she has for all of her children. And I listened to her say, that's my baby. I'm like, you got all these babies. She's like, no, that's my baby. A mother's love is powerful. And there he is with his cute little self. I will always remember him. He was the brother that was the closest to me. So I grieved him in a different way. So she had to really talk to me, about that whole process and keep me encouraged. And then 15 months later, you know what happens. She decides to go. But all of us have her in us. All of us have my dad in us. All of us, she influenced us in so many ways, especially the older ones. Now, the younger ones, they don't remember her so much, but the older ones, they have their own stories. And we get together, we talk about some things. And of course, the one that's deceased, he had his own story as well. So I'm just grateful for the time I spent with her and the fact that I still have these memories. I love, 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 love memories. Well, and let me tell you what she specifically did, because I think that when you have a mother like mine, she'll sort of set the stage for your future. Well, what does that mean? What did she say about her future? I talked about mine a little bit. Let's talk about what else she said about my brother's future. When my brothers were teenagers, there is a well known gospel artist. Her name is Shirley Caesar. Most people know who she is. If not, you can just Google her. And she actually is a wonderful singer, has been singing for years. And she and my mother, they knew each other. She and my father, they knew each other. And my mom said to her, my brothers were young, they were teenagers. And she said, my boys are going to play for you one day. And Shirley just looked at her and smiled. She says, no, really, they're going to play for you one day. And so she taught them how to play the piano. And then if you remember, there's a picture of her sitting on an organ. Well, she went to Pearson Music Company. I say she was a bit of a salesman. She'd always go there for all of her music. I said she was self-taught. This one particular time, she walked into Pearson Music Company and she convinced the salesperson to lease an organ, because she knew, and I don't know how she did it. They've never done it before, but when she got through talking to them, probably charming them, and whatever you need to do, because you know that the future of your boys and your girl are in the hands, and you have to prepare them. Next thing you know, here comes the Pearson music truck, and they're bringing in the organ, and she's sitting on it. And she spent, I don't know how much time. My brother said it was just a few months. She spent time daily teaching them how to play the organ. Why? Why not focus on the piano? She knew and understood that the organ was going to have a different place in this world, especially in the gospel music field. She knew that the organ was going to be a profound musical instrument in our church environment and anywhere. So she played, she taught them, they had lessons, and she'd call them from the basketball court, it's time for your lesson. And I would listen to the lesson, and she took turns, and by the time she got to me, she was only well enough to teach me the key of C. But my brothers went on to play for Shirley Caesar, one for 5 years and one for 12 years. And they became musicians, ministers of music. They would play for churches. One still is playing for a church. She understood one thing about the future. You had to have insight. I always say she was a bit prophetic. She knew that that musical instrument, the organ, was going to help and assist her sons and become their livelihood. They could play for weddings. They could play for revivals. They could be the ministers of music. They could do it all. And that particular instrument was it was one of the vehicles that they used to do that. Of course, the keyboard came out, and, after she left, and everybody, kind of navigated to that. But she understood the power of that particular skill set, and she made sure they knew how to play professionally before she left. And they were just teenagers, but she prepared them well. That's what she said. And she also told me that I was smart and that she trusted me. Why was that significant? Well, about 6 months after her death, someone told me that I couldn't be trusted. And they pretended that I wasn't smart. Because my mom, Mama Joyce, had already drilled that into my head. You're smart. I can trust you. You're smart. I can trust you. It got into my spirit first. It got into my heart first. It got into my head first. So when someone else said something to me about what I was, and I thought, well, you don't know me that well. You don't know me. I am smart. Whenever there is a transition, you're going to go through some things. It was a transition. So I had to really stand on or reflect on the memories. Did someone just say you wasn't smart? No, sometimes people just say things to you and you know what they mean. If they can't trust you, well, you know what? You don't know me well enough to trust me. You have to build that. Trust is built. But also I was going through a grieving process. And if anybody knows anything about the grieving process, there is an anger stage. Well, when the anger stage hit me, I was not a happy camper at all. I'm not sure how long I stayed in it, but I remember it being for a while, and I was not a cool person. I was a kid. I was missing my mom. Eventually, I got through it, and I started focusing in on studying and reading, and my grandmother was there to help me. So her words were important. I remember one time we went to visit a friend, and she said, we're going to stop by the drugstore and pick up a few things. And the friend said to her, do you want someone else to go with you and go into the store? And she was like, no, she can do it. She's smart. I always give her a list, and she'll go in there and she'll look for what I've asked, what's on the list. And if she has a question, she'll say, excuse me, I need to go out and talk to my mommy. And then I'll go out and get clarity and come back. That's how she taught me. She did not want me to not know that I had to use my brain. She wanted me to learn how to use my brain. She saw so many other people using other parts of their body that when you have for free, she wanted me to use my brain instead. All right. So that's what she would say. That built the foundation. It poured into my brothers. All that information poured into us. We had a difficult time without her, but we remembered the love that she had. So what I did was I put together a little brochure. I'm not really sure that you can see it, but as well. But I just, for this month, I call her a history maker. I'm thinking about the time that she spent in this world, and she didn't have a lot of time. My brother was 18 in May. She left us in March. She didn't have much time. However, when I reflect on the woman that my mother was, I know she was ahead of her time. Standing there in that green outfit, she was in Chicago. And I know she ran into one of those recording artists, because when she came back home, she marched my brother down to the record store. We called them record stores then. And she bought all the albums for this particular artist. And you know what she said? Here, put the album on the record player, and we're going to play it to perfection. Learn the song. So she taught him. So now he has the gift of being able to play at that level. That was who she was. And I appreciated her. So that's the first part of the brochure. Actually, we had an event at church, and I talked about her. So I wanted to show the first part of that. Isn't that cool? Isn't it cool to have that? And I feel good about the conversation that I've had. Again, this is more the picture gallery. I feel good about the conversation that I've had about her, because I'm not trying to make you cry. I'm not even trying to make myself cry. I'm just remembering that if her words did not have power, my story would be very, 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 did I say very, very different. However, there was something about the way she carried herself. She was a woman of worth. She was a virtuous woman. She had a lot of character. People loved her. She had a quiet demeanor, but when she called them our names, she could scream to the top of her lungs, and she would get our attention. She loved us. There wasn't one day when I didn't realize her love for me was true. Not just me, for all of her kids. She taught my uncles how to play the guitar. Just her thing. Taught them how to play the guitar, and they went on to be great guitarists. And there's so many people in our neighborhood where she just teach them. She was self-taught, and she carried that with her. In all of those different roles, I really pray that I've been able to make her happy, that I've been able to be the voice that, that she wanted, that I made her proud. When I started traveling in the 90s, I started training, I started traveling. I'd go to all these different cities, and I say, Mom, I couldn't go to the city with you, so I'm going to go out and spend money. I'm going to go out and take pictures. Or I'm going to go out and I wish you were here with me. And I was able to travel across the United States, and I'd take her with me on the plane. I'd take her with me in the hotels. Her memory, she could not do it. But the encouragement was there, and I was able to do it. So in conclusion, do you know, it's been many, 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 many years since I've actually heard her voice. I know exactly what her voice sounds like. And that's attributed to the God we serve. He gave me a great memory, a great memory. And I can hear her play the piano. I was around her a lot. I was her daughter. I was her shadow. I was there all the time. I could hear her voice. I can even remember how she plays, how she played. Every now and then, someone will bring back a song from that time, and I'd realize that was her. That was how she played the piano. That's how she did it. So I spent so much time in her presence until I've been able to just understand that she was my inspiration. Even now, every time I cannot look at a multiplication table in the back of those books and not think about her because, oh my God, I'm thinking I'm getting away with it. She said, okay, Yvette, go get the multiplication books. We're going to do your times tables. I'm like, oh no. But she wanted me to be prepared. She wanted me to be well-rounded. I wanted to help her cook once, and that was not a good idea because fried chicken, can spark or whatever. And it did spark on my face, but I am blessed because even though I only had her for just a few years, her memory, her persona, the way she did things, I treasure it today. Saying goodbye was hard. When I got my heart broken, she wasn't here to help me. She wasn't there when I graduated from high school, wasn't there when I graduated from college. But I have felt her presence every day inside of me. And I pray that I can be the inspiration to others, to my nieces, to my nephews, that she is to me, because that's how I've made it. You see, words have power. And this month, as we're talking about women and celebrating them, you will find that many of the women were just great at speaking their mind and great at sharing their vision, great at just opening up doors. And their tasks were to motivate their kids or motivate the person. And they were pretty good role models. Yeah. And so was she. So my mom, the late Reverend Joyce L. Obie, we're kicking off the celebration of Women's Month, and she's the person who's my honoree tonight. I miss you every single day, and I feel your love every single day. But I know you're having a great time in heaven, and I've done everything I could to try to make you smile. How about that? All right, that's all I have for you with her. Isn't that an amazing story? I have more stories, but I think that's important for us to have the right kinds of role models and to be able to talk about them. During this month of March, I want you to sit down, take a moment, and I want you to think about the women who have been very, very instrumental in pushing you through certain scenarios. My grandmother's picture probably should have been on here as well, because once my mother transitioned, my grandmother did everything she could to make sure that her granddaughter and my mother's daughter stayed on point and made it. And my grandma said, I want you to make it. There's so many women who have spoken into your lives. You need to this month, you need to send them a text. If they're still on in the land of the living, send them a text, send them a card. Talk to them. Tell them thank you. Thank you for doing a great thing for us. I can look up towards heaven and say, thank you, Mom. I appreciate you allowing me to have friends so that I could be well-rounded. I appreciate, you defending me so that I could appreciate my name, Yvette, because I do like it. I appreciate you trying to teach me how to play the piano or try to play the organ, but I wasn't interested because your health was not good and I just wasn't interested. Later on, I played the piano a little bit, but I wasn't as motivated as my brothers. Now you give me a keyboard and you put a song on, I might, can punch out a few little notes here and there and here, but eventually I'll lose interest and no one wants to hear the versions, even though I have tried. What I'm saying is these are the people that we cherish. These are the people, they're not perfect. She wasn't perfect, but she was my hero. And today I can cook a mean fried chicken because of her. Today I think one of her favorite desserts was, my brother said chocolate was chocolate cake, yellow cake with chocolate icing. But what I remember the most as far as her culinary skills, in addition to the fried chicken, she used to make some really good gingerbread. Oh my God. I have not tried to make it because I'd eat the whole pan. What I'm saying, focus on the good. Focus on the things that will encourage you and strengthen you. Focus on the things that'll put a smile on your face and that'll warm your heart. I know that there are things that you can say about that person, that woman that's inspired you. Now, if you want to be a participant on our show, you're going to have to send me an email. And I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll set up a time and we'll let you talk about that woman who was your inspiration. And we'll allow you to give us examples and of other women and how they have pushed us where we are. In addition to giving us birth, these mothers have done an incredible job. I'm thankful for mine. I'll always have her. And in my heart, and I'm glad that I look in the mirror every now and then, I see her, or I'll say something and I go, that sounded just like her. What a great tribute. Mom, I love you. I think about you daily, and I love you every day. So that's all I have tonight. That's my heart to heart. We're going to celebrate those women who have been instrumental in keeping us moving forward in our lives. We're going to celebrate them on the power of transformation. I want you to celebrate them when you're not on the power of transformation. And as we say, the train's been chugging along. It's been kind of chilling. Had music on it this time in memory of my mom. But now it's time to turn it around and bring it back to the station. Our show is based on an excerpt from Romans 12:2, that you should be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And these women, and I know we're going to have some other great stories, but particularly my mom knew how to say, all right, let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. All right. So now the train's in the station. I'm pumping the brakes. I'm putting it in park. And we're going to, I always say every week that you should trust the process. Trust the process. Trust the process so that you can actually get to that place where you need to be. I had to trust the process in order to keep moving after she transitioned to heaven. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you for sharing and giving me a moment to talk about my wonderful mommy, the late Reverend Joyce L. Obie. So we'll talk to you next week. You take care. I love you. Bye-bye.